What if I told you that you didn't have to worry about money anymore? Wow, wouldn't that take some stress out of your life, that you had all the money in the world, you had all the money you needed, and you wouldn't have any more financial problems? Wouldn't that be awesome? Well, guess what? I think everybody has financial worries, even the wealthiest people. If you're not worrying about having too little money, you're probably worried about having too much money, and the tax implications and everything that goes with having too much money. People banging on your door for it, and everybody that needs help. And if you have too little money, how are you going to pay the bills? How are you going to feed the kids? You know, money is a problem for all of us. And let me tell you a story about a guy. This guy's name, and let me pull it up here for a minute. This guy's name was Teez, T-E-E-Z, Teez Tabor. And in 2017, Teez Tabor, he was drafted by the Detroit Lions of the National Football League, right? He was gonna play football, professional football, make all this money because these athletes, not all of them, but a good majority of them make pretty good money. And anyway, he got a 4-year contract for $4.8 million. Man, you think about it, 4 years, $4.8 million contract. That's a $1.2 million a year. That's a lot of money for us. For me, that's a lot of money. For you, that's probably a lot of money. Maybe for some folks, it's not a lot of money. That's a lot of money, right? So $4.8 million contract. But you got to think about this. After taxes, after paying your agent, after buying 2 homes, not one, but 2 homes, right? Several big vacations. Hey, we got to spend the money, right? Let's go do things we've never done before. Teez discovered that $4.8 million can disappear. It can disappear as quickly as a $20 bill going to play the lottery at the local gas station, right? It's gone. And Teez Tabor, he found himself in a financial bind. A problem also with Teez is he was released by the Detroit Lions, and he was left with practically nothing. This is a man who had a 4-year, $4.8 million contract, and then got to a point where he had to figure out how he was going to feed his family. Teez was running out of money so fast, and the stress in his life was growing quickly. And in 2020, there was a 2022 Netflix documentary called Get Smart with Money, in which Teez then partnered with a financial planner named Ross McDonald. The big takeaway for Teez here was that making lots of money means nothing if you don't know how to manage it. If you don't know how to manage large amounts of cash, a large paycheck, if you don't know how to manage that, it's going to go fast. There's people that I've come across who make well into the 6 figures in income every single year and are broke. They're so far in debt. They've bought big homes, big cars, vacations, kind of like Teez. They've spent all their money. They have more outgo than they have ingo. Even though they're making $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year, they're spending it as fast as they get it, and they have a big mortgages, maybe 2 or 3 mortgages. Anyway, it's not how much money you make; it's how well do you manage the money that you make. That's the key, and that was the important takeaway for Teez. He was making lots of money, but it's nothing. Again, it's nothing if you can't budget it and you can't manage it. So the opposite is also true. You can make little money. You can make, I think the average household income today is somewhere between $60,000 and $70,000. And you can do well on that if you budget it and you manage it. You don't overspend. You spend less than you make, and you can do that if you manage your money well. It's an interesting fact that the top 10% wage earners in this country make around $300,000. So if you make $300,000 a year or more, you're in the top 10% right away. The top 1% makes about $3 million. And we often think that the top 1% of income earners in this country are billionaires, multi-billionaires. No, nope. Top 1%, 3 million. That's a lot of money. It is. It's a lot of money. But even with people who make a lot of money, there is those who are making that much money who are struggling because they're outspending their cash. They're spending more than they bring in. So anybody can have financial stress. And unfortunately, lots of professional athletes struggle to live a lifestyle or not live the lifestyle that they're living, and they spend way too much money. So anyway, so Tease, he was paid $4.8 million after taxes. Like we said, it was down to about $2 million. And then he had agent fees and vacations and homes. He spent another $1 million on his home and then one for his mom. And that left him with about $1 million, considering that he had a 4-year contract. So he's left with $1 million on a 4-year contract. That's $250,000 a year that he has left over. So he's got $250,000 a year. And the problem is with these contracts is that money is not guaranteed. And that would be Tease's last NFL contract. He did not get another contract, and he was released by the Lions. So all these things added up for Tease. He was 21 years old. Tease was 21 years old when all this occurred, that he received this big contract, right? So he literally had to figure out a way to feed his family now. He wasn't playing football. He had big homes with big mortgages. How is he going to do this? He wasn't adding any more money to his account. As I watched that Netflix documentary, this was 2 years ago that I watched that. So it's been 2022, 2024 right now. So about this time, 2 years ago in 2022, he had signed with the Seattle Seahawks for just over $900,000 per year. Not bad, but he did get another contract. But he had that financial planner who taught him some very, very valuable lessons. He was much more disciplined. He was much more intentional about budgeting and sticking to that budget and not buying things that he simply did not need. Money plus time plus being well disciplined and investing in powerful tools can make you I won't say wealthy, but it can set you up for the future. You can use powerful with a financial planner, with somebody who knows what they're doing, who could sit down and budget out your money, look at what you have coming in, look at what you got going out, getting rid of things you don't need. How much money do you spend? Do we spend every month going out to eat or Starbucks? Or I used to call it $5. Now I call it $10. They've got, and I'm not a Starbucks drinker, but many in my family are, and I go with them a lot of times when they buy this, and I'm like, wow, that's a lot of money. Now I'm not saying I don't spend money on things that I shouldn't be spending money on as well, and so I know that I do. I'm an audio book junkie, so I probably spend way too much money on audiobooks. I chide my wife often about how much she spends for a haircut, but she only gets her haircut like once every 3 months. And then she reminds me, I get my haircut every 3 weeks. So it probably ends up being about the same amount of money that we spend on haircuts. So we're all guilty of spending way too much money on things we don't need. But if we could cut out those things that we don't need and put those, and then reinvest that money into depending on your time frame, right? Depending on your time frame, you reinvest that money into high paying, maybe a mutual fund, into the stock market. Again, with a financial planner who's able to sit down and look at your needs, see what fits you best, right? I am a stock market investor. I am a real estate investor. I'm cautious and conservative, but even in real estate and the stock market, those things over time have a very, very solid return, and can provide you with great income, great return, especially for retirement and things like that, for building that nest egg, right? But there are other avenues out there for for building your nest egg and building wealth. And again, I'm not advocating greed. I'm not advocating that you worship money. Money is not evil, right? I know we have a verse in the Bible that says, in 1 Timothy, it says, the love of money is the root of all evil. And what that means is it's the root of all kinds of evil. In other words, there'll be people who do all kinds of evil for money, but it doesn't mean that money is evil. It can cause us, the love of money can cause us to do things that are unethical, that are sin, that hurt other people. And we have to be very, very, very careful. The Bible does not call wealth sin, but it cautions us. There are many, many cautions in the Bible about wealth and what it can do to us. James talks about the filthy, wealthy people who take you to court and sue you. And he's talking about people who are wicked anyway. And now they just take their money and they abuse you with it. That's not the intent of money. Money many times in the Bible is a sign of blessing. Job was wealthy. Abraham was wealthy. Joseph of Arimathea in the Bible, a friend of Jesus, was wealthy. Nicodemus was probably very wealthy. There's other. I'm losing my train of thought here on the name. I said Nicodemus. Anyway, I'll think of it in a minute. The guy that was in the tree, and Jesus said, "Come down," and he was very wealthy. So there are very wealthy people in the Bible. Wealth is not a sin, but we have to be careful with it, that it can lead us. The love of money and the lust and the greed, if we're not careful, can lead us into doing all kinds of things. That's what that verse means. So sometimes as Christians, we talk ourselves into a poverty mindset because of a fear of being looked at because we have money. And a lot of times, the Bible, the world will refer to people as the filthy rich, right? Well, I don't know any people who are rich and filthy. I know rich people. I don't know any filthy rich people. I know some very nice rich people. I know some very kind. I know some very giving. And if it wasn't for the rich people, many of our nonprofits and our churches would not be supported and operating as they are today. So let's not demonize rich people, right? Because sometimes I think that puts us in a mindset to where we're afraid to make any money. We're afraid to put money away for the future. It's not noble to be poor. It's not noble. There are some people who are going to be poor. We understand that. The nobility comes in loving Christ, no matter what your position in life is, rich or poor. The nobility is in loving Christ, no matter where you are, being content, as Paul says, being content, understanding where I am in all circumstances and trusting God through those circumstances. But certainly, the Bible also tells us that if we don't provide for our families and work and make money, we're worse than an infidel. So it is expected in the Old Testament and the New Testament, when people were given land, these were businesses. These people ran businesses. And it was expected that the family would be involved in the business. So they were building businesses in order to earn a living and provide for their families. And most of them became very, very wealthy in doing so. Nothing wrong with that. Just remember, you can't let your wealth become an idol. It can't become an idol. So I know this was about stressing over money, and how do we reduce that stress? Well, we reduce that stress by making sure we live on less than we have coming in. If you have $70,000 a year coming in, you need to live well under that. We need to live on less. We need to give, right? Giving forces us to budget. God commands us to give, right? Now, let me be very, very clear. I believe that the Bible tells us to tithe. That's 10% of our income. But I believe that it's really more than a tithe in this New Testament age. The tithe is just the beginning. God expects us to give more than just our tithe. He expects us to give above that. So if I'm giving my tithe to the church, and then giving above that. Well, I'm gonna have to plan that out. I'm gonna have to budget that out. I'm gonna have to make sure I have a plan going forward to ensure that that happens. So I know where my money's going, that I have enough money left over to pay the bills, pay the rent, pay the mortgage, pay the power bill, put food on the table, put gas in the vehicles, and all those things. But do not think for a minute that just because you're tithing that automatically means God's gonna bless you. It doesn't. If you're giving on 10%, but misusing the other 90%, God's not gonna honor that. God expects you to tithe, to give above and beyond that 10%, and then manage all of your money correctly. And in doing that, He will bless you. He will. The sum of the tithe and more than the tithe, plus managing my money well, comes out to be more than just 1 plus 1. It's 1 plus 1 doesn't equal 2. It's 1 plus 1 equals whatever God wants it to equal. So it's a synergy there that's created when you tithe and you give above your tithe, and then you're managing your money well. That in that, God will come in and He'll bless you. He will. And I'm not saying He's going to make you rich, but He will provide blessings beyond anything that you could ever have imagined if you'll just do that. If you'll just, it's simple, right? Obey God. Do what He says to do. Manage your money correctly. If nothing else, live on less than you make. I think you'll find that when you do that, you save money. The emergencies won't be emergencies. The financial crises won't be financial crises. When the car breaks down, it's okay. We've got the money to fix it. When the house needs a new roof, it's okay. We've got the money to fix it, right? When the plumbing goes out, that's okay. We've got the money to fix it, because we've been living on a budget, living on less than we make, and we're avoiding those financial crises. So T's learned a hard lesson, right? And we all many times have had to learn. I've had to learn very, very, very hard financial lessons. So I hope this has been just a help to you financially. We all struggle. We all have those times when we go through where money is short. But if you're planning and you're saving and you're living on less than you make, and you're investing, invest for the future and put that money away. I cannot tell you the number of people that percentages right now say who are going to retire or try to retire by age 65, and they're not going to have enough money in the bank, and they're hoping that the government Social Security is going to be there. And I can tell you right now that it's just a few short years. It's not long at all. That money runs out in Social Security. I don't know what they're going to do. I have no idea how they're going to fix that, but they're going to have to fix it. And I have a feeling it's going to be painful. I have a feeling they're going to come and probably raise the retirement age when people can withdraw that money again, or they're going to greatly reduce that money, or they're going to raise your taxes and reduce the amount of money you can invest. But at some point, we have to pay the piper, and it's coming really, really fast. And if you're not controlling the things you can control, because you can't control the government, they're going to do what they're going to do. Can't control them. If you're not doing what you can do, it's going to be hard. It's going to be very, very difficult. So anyway, I appreciate you spending some time with me today. Please subscribe to our channel, like it, share it out. Man, it's been good to talk to you today. And I wish that I could kind of just sit down with you and on this video, right? And it feels really impersonal. But I wish that somehow, and if you got some comments, throw them in there. We'll respond to them. You may have some disagreements. That's okay. We love you. See you later.